Welcome, dear listener. Tonight we drift backward in time, far away from the modern age of glowing screens, rushing hours, and sleepless nights. We travel into a forgotten world, a world where the setting sun meant the end of labor, where shadows ruled the lanes, and where the night was far longer than the day. This was the medieval night, a night of silence, of superstition, of firelight, a night shaped by a rhythm, strange to us now, but ordinary to them, the rhythm of the first sleep, wakefulness in the middle hours, and the second sleep. The evening began early, the sun dipped behind forests and hills. The sky grew deep blue, then black. Shadows stretched across fields. Villages darkened quickly, for there were no lamps to chase away the night. Smoke rose from thatched roofs. Families gathered in wooden cottages, their hearth fires glowing orange. The poor prepared their final meal, a simple pottage, thick and heavy, made from peas, onions, or barley, boiled slowly in a soot-stained pot that hung above the fire. Into this stew went whatever could be spared: turnips, leeks, beans, sometimes herbs. Bread, dark and sour, was dipped into the broth, and for those who could not afford grain, there were roots dug from the earth, boiled until soft, though never filling. The wealthy dined differently. Tables of nobles bore roasted geese, pigeons with crisped skin, and venison hunted in distant woods. Spices were added: pepper, cinnamon, ginger, rare treasures brought from far lands. But even the rich ended their meals early, for candles were costly, oil was precious, and firewood not endless. Children yawned, the elderly rubbed tired eyes. Dogs circled the floor and curled near the fire. The hearth was banked low with ashes so that the embers might survive the night. Shoes were removed and set aside. Doors were barred. Prayers were whispered softly and slowly. The family prepared for rest. The first sleep drew near. The evening came early in the medieval world, earlier than we might expect, for without lamps, without electricity, without glowing windows, the moment the sun dipped below the horizon, the day ended. Shadows lengthened, first across the fields, then across the trees, then across the clustered cottages. Smoke rose slowly from chimneys, thin gray ribbons fading into the cooling air. The light dimmed, the warmth of the day faded, and the cold of night crept in. Inside the cottages, families gathered close around the hearth. The fire was the center of life, its crackle a comfort, its glow a necessity. The hearth warmed the room, lit the shadows, cooked the food, dried the damp wool. Everything depended upon its flickering light. The poor ate their evening meal, always the same, always heavy, a pottage of peas or beans or barley, boiled endlessly in the soot-darkened pot. Onions chopped coarsely, turnips softened in the water, leeks wilted into the broth. Bread was dark, coarse, sour, made of rye or barley, its crust hard, its crumb heavy, its taste plain. Children dipped the bread into the pottage, chewing slowly, filling their bellies though not their desires. The wealthy dined differently, though still early. Tables bore roasted meats, geese with browned skin, pigeons spiced with pepper, venison seasoned with cinnamon or ginger, all of it treasures brought from distant lands at great cost. The servants hurried, placing trenchers of bread, jugs of ale, knives and spoons of iron. Yet even in halls of stone, the darkness pressed near. Candles were precious, Oil was rare, firewood was guarded, so the wealthy too ended their meals swiftly, letting the great hall fall into shadow. They retreated to their chambers, where tapestries hung heavy, where fires burned low, and they too prepared for rest. Shoes were removed, garments folded, prayers whispered, doors barred, children yawned, elders rubbed their eyes, dogs circled the floor, cats leapt silently to the rafters. The hearth was banked with ashes, the embers hidden to last the night. The house grew quiet, the darkness thickened, and slowly, inevitably, the first sleep began. The medieval bed was rarely soft, rarely warm. For peasants, it was a sack of straw, stuffed with reeds or husks, spread upon wooden boards. The straw grew damp, grew lumpy, filled with insects, and was changed only when the smell became unbearable. Families slept close together, parents beside children, the smallest clinging to the largest, dogs curled on the floor, goats in the corner, sometimes chickens perched above, fleas crept unseen, lice moved along the seams, bedbugs crawled in the cracks of wood. This was ordinary, accepted, endured. The wealthy lay upon feather mattresses, goose down beneath them, wool blankets above them. Curtains hung heavy around their beds, not for beauty, but to keep in heat. Yet even they shivered, for stone walls held the cold. The wind slipped through the shutters, rattling the wood, whistling in the cracks. Nobles wrapped themselves in furs, yet the chill remained. Monks slept in rows, narrow cots aligned within stone halls. At the tolling of a bell, they rose, no matter the hour, to chant in the cold chapels. Their voices echoed, low, heavy, endless. Servants lay on rushes spread on the floor, sometimes in the loft above the barn. The shifting of cattle below was their lullaby, the warmth of animals their only comfort. The first sleep held them all, wrapped in heaviness, slowed by weariness, surrounded by darkness. Sometime after midnight, the first sleep ended, not with a start, not with an alarm, but with small, ordinary movements, small, ordinary sounds. A cough, a blanket shifted, the soft scraping of a boot against wooden boards. One by one, not all at once, the house unfolded the quiet life that lived inside it. This hour is called the watch, a half sleep, a half waking, a hollow space between the two long rests. First sleep, the watch. Second sleep. Repeat the rhythm once in your mind, slowly. First sleep, the watch. Second sleep. Let the words slow your breath. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. In a low cottage by a field, a farmer wakes first. He blinks against the dim of a single candle. He rubs his palms slow and quiet. The scent of smoke hangs heavy, smoke of stale embers, smoke of yesterday's cooking, smoke that has stained the beams for years. He feels the straw beneath his back, coarse, prickly, 1,000 tiny points that press and hold until morning. He listens. A cow shifts, a horse stamps, hens rustle. Every small movement asks a small question. Was it thieves? Was it wolves? Was it nothing at all? He stands, draws on his boots with gentle patience, pushes aside the low door, and steps into the cold hush of night. The air bites softly at his cheeks. The stars lean far and faint in the black. He counts the breaths of the animals, hears the slow chew of hay, listens for any unusual sound. A twig snaps far off, then nothing. only the thin sound of wind through the hedgerow. He breathes once more and returns inside, carrying heat and calm back to the sleeping rooms. Inside the cottage, a woman sits by the embers and whispers the same lines she has whispered many nights. Small prayers, folded words, blessings for the children, for the house, for the animals. Her voice is low and steady, softly looping the same phrases until they become a blanket of sound. For health, she says. For safety, she says. For forgiveness, she says. Each phrase repeated makes it gentler. Each repetition thins the edge of fear. The words fall into the hush and sink like small pebbles into still water. A child wakes and reaches for warmth. Small hands find the rough sleeve of a parent. Eyes half opened, glazed with dream, the child asks a small, half-formed question, then yawns and collapses again into the straw. A smaller cough from the corner, soft skin, soft breath. The whole house breathing in the same slow rhythm. In a monastery of stone, the watch takes a different face. A bell tolls low, once, twice, a slow heartbeat through the night. Robes whisper on stone as the brothers rise together, feet shuffling, sandals tapping like small woodpeckers across cold flagstones. They file, careful and even, into the chapel. Candles before them drip molten wax, ribbons of light bending toward cold walls. The chant begins, one voice, then another, then many. Kiri Ellison, Krista Ellison, Kyrie Ellison. The phrases stretch long, syllable by syllable, repeated in patient circles until the sound itself is thicker than comfort and thinner than sleep. Each chant is a measure of time, each measure easing the body toward rest or lifting the spirit into quiet duty depending on how one listens. The cold seeps through their sandals. The breath forms clouds for just a moment, then disappears into the vaulted dark. They do not speak loudly. They do not hurry. They repeat the lines the way one tugs at a frayed rope gently to keep it from unraveling. In the stone hall of a lord, a different watch happens. A candle is lifted, its flame a small, hesitant thing. The noble reads aloud in Latin, slow, syllable by syllable, as if tasting each sound. Few pages turn, pages worn at the edges, ink faded into gray from the many eyes that have passed over it. The sentences are not hurry or warmth, they are a kind of company in the quiet, words that refuse to vanish even in the dark. Once the candle flutters low, the noble closes the book and lets the sleep return like a tide covering the shore again. At a lonely roadside inn, watchfulness is crowded. A traveler coughs and turns, a merchant frets over a purse, a soldier tightens the leather by his head. Travelers share secrets and bodies in the smallness of one bed, shifting, uncomfortable, but together in small numbers of breath and ache. A mother hushes a frightened child who dreams of wolves, and the child's soft whimper becomes part of the music of the night. Outside, somewhere, dogs talk to shadows, a wind moves the signs, wheels creak on a far road. All these small vignettes stitched together into the midnight tapestry, you might imagine one long ribbon of sound, breath, murmur, creak woven into a single slow hum that wraps around the sleeping region. Think of it as a single slow river moving silent and deep, letting everything rest on its surface. During the watch, small tasks are done quietly, almost automatically. The hearth is stirred, old embers fanned back to life, a small flame coaxed upward to make a thin light in a thin heat. A pot is checked for thickened stew. A cloak is folded and set near the door, ready for tomorrow's work. A child's shoe is straightened, the strap smoothed so it will not catch on morning. These are practicalities, and in their repetition, they become ritual, and in their ritual, they become lullaby. On some nights, the watch is a place for thoughts to meet. Two people whisper of plans, of seed and debt, of next season's sowing, of a neighbor's new calf. Words in the dark are softer, more honest, or more careful because there is no light to fix them, no witness but the sleeping house. These conversations drift slowly like small boats on a silent pond, coming close, touching, and then moving apart with the tide. Sometimes the watch is a place for memory. An old woman lifts her head and remembers a wedding long past, the names of children who left, the pattern of a life now worn threadbare. She speaks fragments, not to be answered, but to sound her own memory into the night. Her voice is not seeking comfort. It is offering the night the shape of her life, and the night listens, unjudging, vast and indifferent, and then gives back sleep. The watch can also be a place of petty fear. A shadow on a wall might be a beast, or only a shelf with a jar. A sudden clatter might be a thief, or only a loose tile. The mind reaches out to fill small unknowns with stories. Was it thieves? Was it wolves? Was it only a branch? And these questions roll in the head until the body decides to accept peace again. Someone will get up, check, and return with nothing to show but the soft proof of a closed door. And then, slowly, the house allows itself to sink back toward the second sleep. There are nights when the watch is very long, wind howling like a distant pack, rain battering the thatch, animals uneasy, doors creaking like tired jaws. There are nights when the watch is barely there, no sound at all but the breathing of sleepers and the low flicker of embers. Both kinds of nights fold into the same pattern in the ancient rhythm. Listen to that rhythm now in your mind. First sleep, the watch. Second sleep. Let these words be slow anchors. First sleep, the watch. Second sleep. Repeat the sequence as a soft mantra, slowly, gently, without force. At last, when the watch has done its quiet work, when prayers have been murmured, animals checked, embers coaxed, secrets shared, fears named and soothed, the second sleep comes down like a curtain, thick and soft, covering eyes and ears and thought. Breaths lengthen, muscles loosen, the small questions fold inward, and the household, the monastery, the castle, the inn, all of them give themselves once more to rest. First sleep, the watch. Second sleep, again. First sleep, the watch. Second sleep. Let the loop rock you inward, softly, slowly, toward the deeper dark where dreams may spread like pale cloth. Pause. Let silence settle for a moment, then very slowly fade. The watch is ending now. The quiet tasks are done. The embers are stirred. The animals checked. The prayers whispered. One by one, the household lies back. One by one, the eyes close again. This is the entrance into the second sleep. It is not the restless drowse of the first hours, not the half-waking of the watch. It is deeper, heavier, slower, like a stone sinking through water. You may picture it, your body as that stone like falling through the calm lake of night, deeper, deeper still, until the water closes over you and no sound can follow. In the second sleep, dreams take shape. They arrive not as sudden flames, but as quiet visitors, drifting in and out with the tide of breath. A farmer dreams of harvest, fields golden and endless, though the field he knows is only small, only narrow. A mother dreams of children grown strong, though by morning she will rise again to tie their shoes and stir their porridge. A monk dreams of light upon stone, a light so perfect it never fades, though the bell will call him again to dark duty. Dreams soften the roughness of life, just as blankets soften the prick of straw beneath the sleeper's body. The rooms now are heavy with breath. Listen to the breath. Slow in, slow out, slow in, slow out. The air thickens with warmth, with the quiet heat of many bodies lying close. A child stirs, rolls, sighs, and sinks again. A man coughs, low and rough, then smooths back into rhythm. Even the house itself seems to breathe, the wood shifting, the roof groaning in small sleepy stretches. In the second sleep, the outside world falls further away. The night creatures move, but softly, behind a veil. Owls call from the woods, hoo, hoo, steady and distant. A fox pads across the lane. Light pause, quick breath, vanishing into hedge. The stars glide across their slow course, hidden by clouds, then clear again, untroubled by the tiny movements below. Time itself loosens here, minutes drift, hours dissolve. There is no measure but the long pull of the body toward morning. Picture a village in this hour, every cottage bowed in silence, every chimney thin and quiet, every path empty. A dog curls tight at a threshold, a cat shifts in lofted straw. No wheel turns, no hammer strikes, no bell rings. The world is wrapped as if a great cloak has been thrown across it, and the cloak is lined with rest. In a monastery, the brothers too sink after their watch. They fold back into cells, thin blankets, thin mattresses of straw. The chants still echo faintly in their ears, but now those chants unravel into dream. Voices become rivers, words become clouds. The strict rhythm dissolves into soft endlessness. Even devotion is allowed its surrender. In a Lord's hall, silence drapes the high beams. The candle has guttered, the book lies closed. A servant slumps by the wall, his head bent forward, his snores soft and unoffending. The noble himself lies still, one hand over the chest, one hand loose at the side, a small rise and fall under the blanket. The hall sleeps, stone, wood, flesh, together in one stillness. At the roadside inn, the travelers too have dropped back into slumber. The merchant has stopped fretting, the soldier's hand rests loosely now. The child has given up its whimper, curled into its mother's breast. The benches creak no more. The inn breathes with them, the rafters heavy, the air dense with smoke and heat. Outside, the sign swings once in the night air, and then it too is still. The second sleep is not hurried, it is long, stretched, without boundary. It holds the sleeper as water holds a leaf, floating, turning, sinking again. A dream comes, a dream goes, a pause of emptiness. A dream comes once more. No effort, no struggle, only the long letting go. It is here that the body repairs itself. Bones rest heavier, muscles soften, the heart beats slow and measured. Even thought becomes slower, quieter, drifting like a feather, turning this way, then that, until it lands in silence. It is a sleep not of hours counted, but of depth endured, and still. If you listen, you can hear the refrain. First sleep, the watch, second sleep. Once more, first sleep, the watch, second sleep. Let the rhythm be the story's spine. Let it carry you downward, downward into the deeper hours. When the second sleep has fully taken hold, nothing remains but breath. The world is undone, then remade each moment, darkness folding, unfolding, folding again. The sleeper is gone to the world, but present in the night. And so they remain until the faintest hint of morning begins to edge the horizon. The second sleep does not break quickly, it does not shatter, it loosens, it thins, it ebbs like tide, gently revealing the shore once more. And when the cock crows, when the first gray light touches the thatch, when the morning smoke begins to curl again, the people rise from the second sleep, blinking, stretching, murmuring, and the world begins its work once more. First sleep, the watch, second sleep, the old rhythm completes, only to begin again. First sleep, the watch, second sleep, pause, allow silence, then soften voice until fade out. The night has entered its deepest hour. The second sleep has taken hold, and in that slow dark, dreams unfold. Dreams were not always seen as idle fancy in the medieval world. They were signs, they were warnings, they were small doors to meanings hidden in the day. A cough in the morning might be ignored, but a dream in the night was considered a message. And so the people, once awake, would speak of their dreams, turning them over like stones, looking for shapes, for patterns, for omens. But in the moment of sleep, in the hollow between thought and silence, dreams were only shapes, drifting like smoke. Picture a farmer. He lies heavy on the straw, his body aching from the day's work, but in dream he walks fields without end. The soil is dark, rich, endless. Each furrow stretches beyond sight. The sun never burns, the wind never tires. The dream is a kinder reflection of the day, soft, infinite, impossible. When he wakes, he will remember only a trace, only the feeling of walking a land too vast to be real. A mother, curled with children pressed close, dreams too. She sees the faces of her children grown, tall, strong, with laughter not yet lived. She sees herself older, her hair streaked, but her heart light. In dream, time folds forward and back. Children become parents, parents become young again. The dream runs without order, but carries comfort. When she wakes, she may not recall the faces clearly, but she will carry the weightless peace that lingers. A monk in his cell drifts into vision. He dreams not of harvest or hearth, but of a great light spilling down stone walls. In dream, the chants he sang earlier in the watch become rivers. The words lose their edges, flowing together into sound without meaning. Only warmth, only light. He kneels before it, though no altar stands. When he wakes, he will say nothing, but in his heart he will believe he touched something holy. Elsewhere, a soldier dreams. His head rests uneasily, but his dream builds walls around him, high, strong, unbroken. No arrow flies, no sword swings, only stillness, only safety. For a man who spends his waking days in fear of attack, the dream of stillness is enough. When he wakes, he will not speak of it, but he will rise steadier. Dreams are not always gentle. Some are strange, some are sharp. A traveler dreams of endless roads that fold back on themselves, leading him in circles, each turn back to the same door, the same inn, the same bed. He wakes with a start, restless, unsure if he has slept at all. A child dreams of beasts with eyes too bright, shadows that whisper. The child whimpers, and a mother soothes, pressing hand to brow until the dream slides away. To the medieval mind, such dreams were not meaningless. A bright beast could mean sickness. A long road could mean a delay. A field of wheat could mean fortune. The dreams were spoken aloud by firelight, puzzled over, sometimes even written. But in the night itself, they were only fragments, shapes of air that dissolve the moment light returns. Notice how dreams follow no time. A day's labor becomes an hour's dream. A lifetime's love becomes a single breath of vision. The dreamer moves without weight, without distance. A door opens onto water. A room bends into sky. The logic is not ours, and yet in the night it is accepted without question. The medieval night was long, and in that length dreams multiplied. One dream fades, another begins. Some vanish in silence, some repeat in different forms. The rhythm is unhurried. Like turning pages of a book you cannot hold, you glimpse images, you glimpse words, but you cannot hold them still. In some houses, dreams spoke not only to the dreamer, but to the whole family. A man might tell his wife of a river he crossed in his sleep. She would nod, thinking of journeys, of trade, of risk. A woman might speak of a candle that refused to light. Her husband would frown, wondering if the harvest would fail. Even children's dreams were taken seriously. Shadows, beasts, light, ladders, each had weight. But here, in this second sleep, there is no interpretation, only drifting, only images passing like clouds, clouds that change shape, animal, tower, hand, and then dissolve. Picture yourself among them now. Not one dream, but many. Not one shape, but endless. Each image rises, stays for a breath, then fades. You walk fields. You climb towers. You float on rivers. You fall softly into air. Each vision is gentle, each moment unfinished, and each one leads only to another. The night is full of such fragments. Across the village, across the monastery, across the hall and the inn, thousands of dreams bloom and wither in silence. Some are remembered, most are not. They pass like candlelight over walls, like wind through grass, like ripples across still water. First sleep, the watch. Second sleep, dreams. Again, first sleep, the watch. Second sleep, dreams. The rhythm carries all the sleepers. The rhythm carries you. And in the dream, there is no fear of waking, no fear of losing, no fear of forgetting. Only the drift. Only the soft turn of mind toward nothing. The body heavy, the breath even, the world dissolved. This is the gift of the second sleep. This is the night's deepest silence. This is the place where thought becomes dream, and dream becomes rest. And so the night goes on, until morning's faint light pushes through the cracks, until cocks crow and fires stir, until the sleepers return from their drifting, heavy but renewed. First sleep, the watch. Second sleep, dreams. Once more, first sleep, the watch. Second sleep, dreams. Pause. Fade voice slowly. Let silence cover the last words. Imagine now. The night is fading. For hours, the village has been wrapped in silence. Only the quiet breath of sleeping families and the slow creak of wooden beams in old houses filling the dark. But now, the second sleep nears its natural end. Somewhere, a rooster stirs, not yet crowing, but shifting its feathers, sensing the faint change in the air. The heavy black sky above is giving way. Not yet light, not yet day, but pale gray, the first whispers of dawn. Inside the cottages, people still rest. Their blankets pulled close, their breathing deep. The fire in the hearth has nearly died out, leaving only soft, glowing embers. The air feels cool, touched by the moisture of early morning. But this was expected. In the medieval rhythm of life, the coming of dawn was gentle, and people allowed themselves to drift naturally from the second sleep into the beginning of the day. In one cottage, a farmer shifts beneath his rough woolen blanket. His second sleep has been deep and long, but now his body knows. The time has come to rise. He does not leap awake, as people do today. There are no alarms, no buzzing clocks. Instead, he wakes slowly, gently, the way his ancestors had done for generations. He blinks against the dim light seeping through the cracks of the shutters. He breathes in the faint smell of ashes and smoke. He listens, and he hears the distant lowing of cattle, waiting in their pen. Across the village, other households stir too. A woman rolls over, drawing the blanket tighter before she finally lets her eyes open. Children stretch in their small straw beds, yawning, rubbing their faces with tiny hands. Dogs shift and shake their fur, tails thumping against the floor. Step by step, the world begins to move again. Not rushed, not hurried, but naturally as the second sleep dissolves into morning. Outside, the mist is thick. It clings to the ground, wrapping the village in a pale blanket. Every roof is wet with dew. Every leaf holds a tiny drop of water, glimmering faintly as the first hints of light touch it. The sound of the morning is slow to arrive. A bird calls once, then again. Soon another answers and another until the trees around the fields echo with soft chirping. In these moments, people of the Middle Ages would often pray. A whispered word of thanks for surviving another night. A simple ritual passed down through generations. The second sleep had ended, the day had begun, and life was ready to continue in its steady, predictable cycle. But not everyone rose at once. Some lingered. An old man turned on his side, closing his eyes again, letting the quiet lull him for a few more minutes. He knew that soon the day would demand his labor. Soon he would need to carry water, chop wood, tend to animals. But for now, he savored the stillness of early dawn. Because once the sun rose high, the calm would vanish, replaced by the endless rhythm of toil. This was the final gift of the segmented night. Not only a pause in the darkness between the two sleeps, but also a soft, gradual entry into the morning. No rushing, no sudden jolt, just the body, the mind, the village, and the land, waking together in harmony. As the sun climbed slowly over the hills, its pale golden light fell across the thatched roofs. Chickens began to scratch in the dirt. Cows shifted impatiently in their stalls. Smoke rose again from chimneys as the first fires of the day were lit. And with that, the people of the medieval village returned to their daily rhythm. The memory of the night, its first sleep, its waking hours, its second sleep, slipped quietly into the past. To them, this was not strange. It was simply life. Every night followed the same pattern for centuries upon centuries, until one day the world would change. But in this moment, in this quiet dawn, it remained the same. The farmer lifted his wooden bucket and stepped into the mist. The woman stirred the ashes of the fire, coaxing it back to life. The children tumbled sleepily from their straw beds, rubbing their eyes, and the sun climbed higher, promising both work and warmth. The second sleep was over. The day had begun for listener. And as you listen now, perhaps you can imagine yourself there in the quiet dawn of a medieval morning. The second sleep behind you, the day stretching before you, safe, calm, unhurried. Let the thought soothe you. Let it remind you that time has always moved in cycles. That rest has always been a companion to life, and that no matter the century, dawn always comes. So rest easy, listener. Your night has ended and a new day quietly begins.